with this again was, hey, we had this room, how can we use it more efficiently? What does it do for kids? And doing some checking in that way, and then coming back to, again, finally at the very end, what it does do for money. I'm an ex-music director, okay, ex-band director, choral director. I've done composition, music theory, you name it, marching band, pep band, jazz choir, the whole thing. But one of the things I see about this in the long term, so much of the time when school districts get in trouble, you see some of the extra programs beginning to disappear. Maybe music won't be offered, down in the elementary, or they begin to lose band. We start band at the 5th grade year. Maybe there'll be a cut of, now we're going to start kids in music, instrumental music in the 6th grade year. And what we're trying to do on this is, again, back to the thing of preserve our programs that we use that serve our children. One of the elementary teachers I know has said that, I was at Lock Ridge and it closed. That was a really tough move. I cried for days, and well, now my building's being closed again. And my heart does go out to that teacher. My heart truly does. I've been in buildings that have closed too during my teaching career. But at the same time, we serve the children. That's where I think we have to keep our focus, is trying to do what we can best for students and retaining our programs down the road. So I guess in a way, I look at this as one of the ways that we can retain our programs, such as the arts, for our children, and the gifted program, and all those other things. One of the other concerns I know come up in this is sometimes the Libertyville versus the Lincon. Why Lincon over Libertyville? And I know when we first started the discussion, and it came to the finance committee, and I think some of that is, I'm probably responsible for, because one of the things I looked at was the fact that Lincon, where it was located at, could be used possibly down the road for our Opportunity Center, which is our alternative education. It's fairly close to the high school. If a student is taking a class at the high school and also trying to do credit recovery at the Opportunity Center, there's some possibilities there. We also have been in discussions both with the businesses and the Chamber of Commerce and the Fairfield Economic Development Group regarding trying to do a regional vocational school. Now, this is kind of a long-term project out there, a couple years. And there's some real interest here in town from some of our manufacturing and from some of our finance businesses about how students can get involved in that kind of vocational area. We also think that Fairfield, because we are a larger city in southeast Iowa, that we also can serve as that regional center for smaller communities around us.
Draw people in.
Draw people in, and continue again in a way to have Fairfield serve as a center for that. Kind of like with the Great Prairie Area Educational Agency. The superintendent's meetings now are held here at the Civic Center in Fairfield, because when the two regions combined, we are the center of that southeast area section.
That's cool.
That is kind of cool. It's kind of like, too, I've been part of some discussions here when the University of Northern Iowa is coming down now and partnering with the Civic Center on some things now, and with the school on some programs. It's nice to be able to offer some of those things because we can be that, more regional center, I guess, program.
So it sounds like there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Well, we were looking at that. We were also looking at our homeschool. If we do a phase 1 thing that we're looking at down the road at the high school, what we call the book room or warehouse behind would have to come down. That's where we house our homeschool program. Those teachers work away from that location with homeschoolers too. They also need a place that they can work. It also looked like that might feed in with that. When we talked to the finance committee, since we were mentioning that direction, that's when the finance committee said, and we're trying to be much more transparent, I guess, and open and with our discussion. They said, well, since this is coming up, Don, we need to share the same information with the staff when we talk to them later today. The same information needs to be shared with the board. The finance committee also kind of felt the same way, that the focus was probably more on Lincon than it was on Libertyville, And the board felt the same way, which is why we're kind of at that point of the discussion. Probably another thing here to bring up, now we're kind of into that, is maybe the transportation part, Mr. McElwee.
I know there are a lot of concerns, and not only the transportation, but as from my chair, there are a lot of logistics in the support services, the food service, the transportation, as well as the building. But transportation is a big concern, and it has been focused on not only Lincoln, but on Libertyville as far as transporting kids. One thing that we are looking at is trying to be as efficient as possible with our transportation. Our transportation budget for the district is huge. It's very expensive to transport kids. In making a decision like this, we do save money on our transportation costs, not only on our regular routes, but on specific routes, such as transporting students for challenge classes, as far as that would be the main one. We have some other crosstown routes that we utilize in town to Lincoln. We also do it to Libertyville, but those would be a savings for the district as far as a financial savings. The other thing that we have to be very careful with is when we transport kids, we want them to be safe, but also we're looking at if the 5th grade were to move to the middle school, we would provide that crosstown route. Basically, we would provide buses for that group only. And as Mr. Daly said, they would have an entrance at the building and we would drop off close to that entrance. One thing that has come out, and I can understand the perspective as far as our efficient utilization of our school buses. You know, we see school buses going around town. They might only have 1, 2, maybe 3 students on the bus. That is a legitimate concern, but also the factor that creates that is we have a lot of specialty routes. Our preschool program that operates throughout the day, we have 2 sessions in the morning and the afternoon. We provide transportation for those students. And oftentimes those students are spread throughout our school district, and we do have to go quite a distance out to pick that child up and then get back to the preschool. And it never works out ideally. We'll have a student in the northeast corner, a student in the southeast corner, or located like that. So it does, you do see buses with 1 or 2 students. Why aren't we using a Suburban to transport those kids? Our school buses are a much safer means of transportation, so that's why we do.
Also, I guess I kind of want to jump in there a little bit too, because as anytime there's a critical issue come up, I think lots of rumors get going. And you know, one thing that came up at the meeting last night was that sometimes people see multiple buses going by, and sometimes that's because of separation and you know who we're transporting on a bus. But it's also because, like pre-K, for example, we run 2 pre-Ks, so there's a noon bus route that goes out. A lot of times when someone's looking, you know, if you think of yourself down at the street level, you're looking up at the pre-K bus, you don't see the pre-K kids in the bus.
No, they're below that window level.
Yeah. So then you think, what is going on there? Now the other thing is too, and this is just another side that people probably don't think about much, but you know, so far this year we've had 9 snow days, which is just wow. And Mr. McElwee and I are often up at 4:30 or 5, it seems like, trying to decide if, and talking to the superintendents and the township and road commissioners and stuff, trying to figure out, you know, is it safe to have school and what's going on and what's the weather reports and all that kind of thing.
It's a very difficult decision, and we base it totally on safety of our kids.
Yeah.
So.
But one of our problems is that parents, you know, at the high school level, a lot of times will have their son or daughter drive to school. You know, and that's one of the big things if you're a kid and getting a drive. But you know, there's also times when, and maybe they even take, you know, some of the other children in the family, you know, with them and stuff. But there's also comes times when that parent needs to say, Johnny, you're not driving your car to school today. You don't have the experience. You're going to ride the yellow school bus today. And we need to have room on our buses for all the kids that don't normally ride. We end up with, too, a lot of parents that will drop their son or daughter off at a school as they go to work, and that's great. You know, they get to spend the extra time with their child, and will even, if possible, pick them up. But especially when the weather gets bad, that doesn't always work. Not everyone works in Fairfield. They may not be able to get back in time. Suddenly, now we got kids riding the bus that normally don't ride the bus, and we have to have a facility to call all those kids. We can't say, hey, wait, we'll be back for you in a half hour.
Since you normally don't ride the bus, you